So, welcome to Living Well. We are so happy, Emily and I are so happy that you're here to join us today. Our topic is going to talk about how to keep an eye on your GI. And we've had previous conversations about our GI tract, but today we're going to talk about one that maybe you hadn't thought about before, because we know that it's important for us to know what's going on inside of our bodies. So, my name is Dr. Jennifer Sankey-Battles, and I want to tell you that this program is for educational purposes only. We do not assess, diagnose, or treat any conditions whatsoever. We really just want to make sure that we can provide education to you regarding various health topics. And so, what we're going to talk about today is how to keep your eye on your GI. How to keep your eye on your GI. So, the things that you're here today will be from evidence based research, biblical references, and some personal experiences. If you have something very specific that you have going on within your body that you have questions about, you are advised to consult your personal physician or your provider to ask those questions. So when we talk about living well, every week when we come on, we have three main purposes. We want to help people prevent diseases, preserve their health, and prolong their life. Those are the three P's that we're aiming for. And so we're hopeful that over these last couple of weeks that you've heard us talk about health topics, that you are looking at ways that you can actually be an advocate for yourself to prevent disease, preserve your health, and prolong your life. We are put our basis as 1 Corinthians 6:19 and 20. And our basis is, do you not know that your bodies are the temple of God who is in you, whom you have received from God, and you are not your own? You and I are bought with a huge price. Therefore, we are to honor God with our bodies. The other guiding scripture for living well is, whether therefore you eat, drink, or whatsoever you do, do all to the glory of God. And that's from 1 Corinthians 10:31. So those are our guiding scriptures for every single program. So there is something I ran across this week, which I thought would be very interesting to share with you as well. In Counsels on Diets and Food, it says only one lease of life is granted us. And the inquiry with everyone should be, how can I invest my powers so that they may yield the greatest profit? How can I do the most for the glory of God and the benefit of my fellow men? For life is valuable. Say valuable. Life is valuable only as it is used for the attainment of these ends. So when we live well, we not only benefit ourselves, but we benefit others, and we also glorify God. So August, the month of August, can you believe it is already August the 2nd? August is Gastroparesis Awareness Month. And I don't know about you, but I read up on gastroparesis and I learned a lot. And what I want to share with you today is, what is gastroparesis? What are the symptoms? What are the causes, the complications? What's the treatment, and how can we reduce our risk of gastroparesis? So you may be wondering, why are we talking about gastroparesis? Well, all of us like to eat, and this condition does deal with the stomach. And we know that GI problems can be one of the first signs that the body is unwell. So we felt, Emily and I thought, if we bring this topic to you, it may give you some warning signs about what's going on inside of your body. And we also know that many diseases begin in the gut. So we want to help you to keep your eye on your GI so that you can live well. So this is a GI tract. You'll see it over here to the left, the mouth, the esophagus. We eat, the food goes down the esophagus into our stomach, small intestine, our colon, our large intestine, large intestine, then into our colon, and it keeps on going through the body. This is what inside our body looks like. And many times when we're sitting and we're eating, we're not thinking about all the passages that our food goes through in order for us to get the adequate nutrients in our body. So today we want to talk about that, because we want to talk about that everything that you eat, you want to make sure that it adds nutritional value to your body. So how well is your GI? This question is for you. Does your food move slow or fast throughout the stomach? And does your stomach empty food properly? So that is a question for you to answer. That is for you to answer. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to think about it. I'm even going to give you a poll that you can launch, that you can do. I don't know if the poll is showing up at all for you. Is it showing up for you?
Yes, it is.
All right. If you see if you can answer it. Does your food move fast or slow throughout your GI, your digestive tract? And does your stomach empty properly? Take a few moments. I cannot see who's answering the questions. All I can see is the responses. So don't feel like I'm going to judge you about your food moving fast or slow throughout your GI tract. We just want to know, kind of get a poll of who's on. So we have 11 people on. So far, 3 people have participated, and we have like 33% says slow, 67% says fast. I would love to have the rest of you, as many of you as feel comfortable that you can answer the question. You can even say, I don't know. That's also an option. You may not know whether or not it goes fast or slow. You may not know if it's emptying properly or not. We're 50% have participated. I'm giving just a little bit more time, see if we can get up to 60 or 70%. And then we will talk about what is gastroparesis. What is it and why you need to know about it? We're still at 50%. That may be all that's gonna, okay, now we're at 60%. And let's see if we can get to 70%. All right, just need one more person to answer. We can get to 70. All right, so we have a few people, about 50%, 7% says slow, 27%, 29% says fast, and I don't know is 14%. And most people think, 80% thinks my stomach is actually emptying properly, and then one says, I don't know. So I'm going to end the poll, but I think this is a good way for us just to pause and think about our body. This is one way we can keep an eye on our GI. All right, so let's go on. Let's go on to the next thing. So when we think about our body, what is gastroparesis? What is it? So gastroparesis is a condition that affects the normal spontaneous movement of the muscles or the motility in your stomach. You saw the food went in the mouth, through the esophagus, into the stomach. But when it gets into the stomach, gastroparesis, it is slow, meaning that the food sits there for a while. It doesn't move. It stays there much longer than you want it to stay there. Gastroparesis can prevent your stomach from emptying properly. And many of us know our stomach emptying because it goes through our large intestine, then it goes through the colon, and then we have a bowel movement. It moves from out the body. Gastrostomach paresis is muscle. That means some muscles in the stomach are weakened. And we'll talk later about what causes those muscles to weaken in the stomach that may require food to stay in the stomach for a long time. So here's a picture. On the left-hand side, my left, it says a normal gastric emptying. You see the esophagus? The food got into the stomach. That's in the little red part. And it moves right on through without any problem. But on the right-hand side, when you see gastroparesis, it literally gets in there. And as you can see, the little green part is the food. It's just sitting in there. It's not moving. There's a lot of food in there that's hanging in there and not moving on through the pyloric sphincter. That is not a good thing. I remember years ago, and I was not raised eating meat. My parents chose to give us vegetables, fruits and vegetables, and that was fine. But as I grew older, I'm like, I want to just taste meat. I just want to know what it tastes like. And I remember one day I went to have a hamburger with a friend of mine, had never eaten meat before. And for some reason, it seemed like that hamburger stayed in my stomach for days. And that's how it felt to me, that it was in my stomach for days. It wouldn't move through. It wouldn't go one way or the other. And I said, my body is just not used to processing meat. It was used to the fruits and the vegetables. And so we want to make sure that our body, our stomach is emptying properly. Now I have a video, I'm hoping it will show, and I'm hoping you will be able to hear it. Let's see if it will work. It talks about the stomach. It's only about a minute and a half. Let's see if we can get it to come up. If not, we'll play it later. There we go. And tell me if you can hear it, because sometimes I'm not sure if it's gonna. It is thinking. Okay, let's take it back to the beginning. Just, it's a great little video talking about how long the food should stay. Can you hear it? Can you hear the video?
No, we're not seeing it. We're not seeing it, no hearing it.
You can't
Maybe
see
you
it?
need to.
You can't see it?
No,
Oh,
no.
okay. Let me do something. We stop screen share here.
Yeah, we have to stop screen share.
And then let me go to the video. It's a great video, so I'm hoping it will cooperate. So let's do this. Let's do this.
Mm.
Tell me if you can you see it?
It's coming up. It says that you started sharing screen.
Can you?
Okay, there it goes. Share sound.
Can you hear it?
You need to share sound. Dr. Sankey, you need to share sound. We're seeing the video, but we're not hearing it. So just share sound.
Let's try it again. Tell me if you can hear it.
Yeah, we've seen the video, but not the sound. So just share sound.
Can you hear it?
Typically, it takes 2 to 4 hours for food to move from the stomach to the intestines and another 2 to 4 hours for it to make its way through the small intestines and into the large intestines. Cleanup takes place an hour after food has been digested and passed along to the large intestines, but can only happen when the stomach and small intestines are empty. Constant snacking means there's no time for cleaning up. It's important to leave time between meals or snacking. When you hear your tummy rumbling, it's actually the cleanup process taking place. When done in the small intestines, things move right along to the large intestines. This is the true home of our gut flora, or bacterial microbes. Their job is to eat anything that doesn't get digested and absorbed by the stomach and small intestines. The large intestine works with the brain to determine when it can push waste along to be excreted, and all the tenants, aka bacteria that live in your gut, demand ample time to deal with undigested food. When it's go time, the large intestines wakes up and shoves the food towards the rectum to be excreted. It takes an average of 1 full day for food to make its way through our digestive tract. In a healthy system, this happens 1 to 3 times per day. Some guts can do it in 8 hours, while others take 3 to 4 days. As long as you're having daily bowel movements, there's no need to fret. Your intestines will take care of the rest.
All right. So this video gave a really good synopsis.
No, you always do this to me.
Gave a really good synopsis of what we need to expect when we're eating. That the food will go through. Ooh, let's give me a moment here. That the food will go through our system, and that and I don't know if you noticed it, but it talked about allowing the food to digest. Not snacking, not eating in between meals. So let me continue to share my screen for my PowerPoint, and we'll go on to the next thing. All right, so some signs and symptoms of...
That's it, no, I've had enough. We're getting a divorce. Stupid man. Keep out!
Just a moment. Sorry for that interruption. That's what happens when you're trying to do multiple things, tech things. So when we're talking about gastroparesis, there's some signs and symptoms that you should look at. And when we look at these signs and symptoms, I want you to look at them and say to yourself, do I experience any of these? So give me a moment. Hopefully I don't get back on my little YouTube thing, but I get on the slideshow. And let's see that. Can you see my slides? Vomiting, nausea, bloating, abdominal pain, feeling of fullness after eating just a few bites, vomiting undigested food after eating a few hours, acid reflux, changes in your blood, it should be blood pressure signs, lack of appetite, blood sugar levels, lack of appetite, and then weight loss and malnutrition. Do you see any of these on here that you may have experienced in the past? Now, if it's episodic, it just happened, went away, that's one thing. But if it's ongoing, that's something you should be concerned about. As I was doing this presentation, I began to reflect on some conversations that I've had probably in the last 3 weeks. I was at an event, and this gentleman was sharing with me that his son, although he was eating at the event, he says to me in a couple of hours, he'll be vomiting up that food he just ate. And I said, really? And he says, yes. He said, it happens all the time. So in my mind, I'm thinking, does he have bulimia? Does he have, that's what I'm thinking. Does he have bulimia or something going on? And he said he will not go to the doctor, but he does not keep his food down. So that was one conversation. I was at an event last week, sitting at a table with a group of people, and one individual just ate a few bites of foods and said, I can't eat anymore. I have to, I eat in small bites. I just can't, I get full after I eat a few bites. And then as I'm doing this presentation, I'm thinking, I wonder if they've been checked out by their doctor for gastroparesis, because sometimes we don't know why we're having fullness after eating just a few bites, or abdominal pain, or bloating. Even acid reflux, many times we'll take an antacid because we don't want that feeling. We don't want that burning. And again, if we're doing that and we're not getting it checked out by a physician, we could be masking some of these symptoms that are warning signs that something is going on in the body. Our muscles are weakened in the stomach. It is not allowing us to digest the food well. And so it's really important that we do not minimize these symptoms and that we seek medical treatment. So there's some causes of the gastroparesis. They said they really don't know what it really caused by. All we know is that the vagus nerve, which controls the stomach muscles, it is damaged. It's not contracting. It's not pushing the food through the small intestine. That's what we do know. But damage to those nerves can come from various diseases. If someone has cancer or diabetes or have had stomach surgery, any of that can be a cause of a damage to the vagus nerves. We do know of people who've had banding of the stomach. We know of people who've had different type of surgical procedures, maybe just a laparoscopy or laparotomy or a C-section. Any of those things, just because it's in an abdominal cavity, could cause damage to the vagus nerve. Again, if you have damage, it's not sending the normal signals to the stomach. It's not telling the stomach to empty. So the food sits in the stomach much longer, and it takes much longer to digest. So there's causes of gastroparesis, not only to the vagus nerves, but there's some medications. And when you look on these lists of medications, if you're taking any of these medications, it could possibly put you at risk for gastroparesis. Again, there's several factors, and not usually just one thing. It could be several things, but high blood pressure medication, allergy medication, antacids, opioids or pain relievers, and antidepressants. Think about the stomach. It has gastric juices. It helps to digest the food. But if we take medication that dries up those juices, it makes it difficult for the food to digest in the stomach, particularly antacids. People take Tums and Maalox and all that kind of stuff because they're having acid reflux, but it does dry up the gastric juices in the stomach, and it could be a cause of gastroparesis. Remember, if there's damage to any part of the stomach, whether it's the nerves or to the gastric juices, it makes it difficult for the food to digest, and it sits in the stomach for a long time. There are some complications for gastroparesis. If you're vomiting and if you're not eating well, you could become severely dehydrated. Really important to make sure that you're taking in fluids, especially if you realize that you're not able to keep food down. Constipation from hardening of undigested food. Some people, I was reading an article, one lady said she goes to the bathroom 3 times a month. She has a bowel movement 3 times a month. That's not normal. So it's not normal to only have one once a week. That's not normal. As you saw in the video, every time we're eating, that food should be moving through our body. It did mention that sometimes it takes 24 hours for it to move through the body. Other people move through 8 hours at a time, but it should be moving through the body. And you know whether or not your stomach is working well if you are having regular bowel movements. And they're not hard, they're not pebbles, they're not stones, but it's moving through your body. Gastroparesis can cause changes in your blood sugar levels. Think about it. When we eat, our blood sugar should go up, right? If you're taking insulin and you have gastroparesis, you've eaten and you've taken insulin with the thought that your body's going to have a high response or high blood sugar afterwards, but it doesn't move through the body, doesn't move to the cells, doesn't move into the bloodstream. That means that you could take insulin and have your blood sugar drop simply because the food did not get to the cells where it needed to get. When you have gastroparesis and food is sitting in your stomach, it grows bacteria. It does. So after a while, staying in there, remember, it becomes putrefied. So it's really important that when you're eating, eat food high in fiber. You want to help that food move through the body as best as you can. Drink plenty of water. Very important. And when you have gastroparesis, you may become malnourished. Even though you may eat a lot, I'm one of these people that eat a lot. I don't gain weight. I don't think I have gastroparesis though. But I mean, some people can eat, but they don't gain weight because the food is not moving through the stomach. And then it also can decrease your quality of life. If you have abdominal discomfort, because that's what happens with gastroparesis, bloating, pain, it does affect whether you want to go out to eat with friends or family. And so what you want to make sure is that any of these signs and symptoms that we've talked about today, if they're long lasting and going on and on and on, make sure that you seek medical advice for it. So there are some ways to reduce the risk of gastroparesis. Number 1, avoid overeating. Sometimes we overeat, we stretch the stomach muscles, we stretch them, and that is not healthy for the body. We need to allow the stomach to rest in between meals. That is very important. Number 2, focus on eating, chewing your food. Eat when you have time. If you're in a hurry and you're on the run and on the go, you want to make sure that you can eat when you can sit and chew your food to make sure it's nice and liquefied before it begins to go through the body. And avoid drinking with meals. When we drink with meals, again, that slows down the digestive process. It also affects the gastric juices in our stomach, making it difficult to break down the food in our body. Watching TV while eating, most times we will overeat. So you don't want to overeat. Watching TV while eating, sometimes you may not chew your food very well either. And again, if you're watching TV while you're eating, your stomach and your brain are vying for your attention. The brain is trying to watch TV, your stomach is trying to digest. Eat foods high in fiber and pay attention to your bowel movements. Look at them. It's okay to look and see, are they normal? Are they, and you should know what normal is for yourself. Generally, after every meal, your body should be moving things out, getting rid of things, decluttering that system. And then know the side effect of your medications. Read the side effects of your medications. You need to know what they are. It's really important because when you read them and you say it may cause constipation or it dries up the gastric juices, you may want to ask and see if there's some alternatives to what you're being prescribed. Also, digestive walks after meals are really good for the body. Eating your meal, walking for 15 to 20 to 30 minutes after eating is good for your digestive system. It works. It's good for your bowel movement. It works. And then number 6, avoid worry, nervousness, because there is a link, listen to this, between your mental health and your gut health, between your mental health and your gut health. And sometimes you may not have gastroparesis. It may just be what's going on in your mind that's affecting your stomach. But again, those are ways that we can reduce gastroparesis. So I was on the, as I was doing my research, and this was actually on the Microsoft Start page. You have a news page with a lot of things on there. And of interest to me, there were 4 different articles about the stomach. One was what causes stomach cramps and how to get relief. Number 2 was some foods and conditions cause stomach pain. Here's when to worry. The other one was younger adults are going public with their digestive problems. They're actually talking about it. I went to that article, and it's like a blog, and different people are talking about their digestive problems. And then this other one, I'm a dietitian. This is what I wish people knew about eating disorders. So people are talking about stomach problems. And that's why I'm glad that Emily and I, because we knew that it was Gastroparesis Awareness Month in August, that we also chose to talk about it to increase the awareness of our audience here on Living Well, of how we can live well by taking care of our stomach. So whenever I do a presentation, I like to look at the spiritual application of it as well. I think this is really important, especially when we talk about living well and we talk about our guiding principles, being that whatever we eat, drink, or do all to the glory of God, and that our bodies are the temple of God and we're bought with a price. There is some spiritual application. We need to keep our spiritual muscles and our nerves strong. What do I mean by that? What I mean is many times we are taking in things from what people may tell us about spiritual things, whether it's going to church or reading articles, but it really takes us engaging in spiritual activities to keep our bodies strong. Just like the stomach, the only way it's able to move from the mouth to the esophagus to the stomach and then down to the large intestine is there's some intentionality that happens behind that. So fill your mind with the word of God by making Bible study and prayer a daily practice. The other thing is accept the truth about how to care for your mind, body, and spirit. We've just gone over ways that we can care for our mind, body, really our body, our spirit by the way that we eat, what we eat, how we eat, chew our food, have fiber in our diet, pay attention to our bowel movements. When we learn truth about how to care for our body, we need to do that as well as have the nerve to witness to other people. Some of our muscles, our spiritual muscles, are weak because we're not taking the time to witness to other people about how to avoid putting harmful things in their body. And again, just as people with gastroparesis, sometimes they vomit a lot, they have undigested food. We don't want to regurgitate the good things about how to live well. We want to make sure that we put them as part of our body. We don't want to become constipated with traditions not supported by truth. Again, what we offer on this program is truth about our bodies, our mental bodies, our physical bodies, our spiritual bodies. We are telling the truth about what we can do to live well. And then don't be slow to remove sin from your life. The longer it sits in your body, just like the longer food sits in your body, that bacteria grows up. If we allow sin to live in our life longer than need be, it can be harmful to our health and to our soul. And so we know that not only is gastroparesis a problem, but it can be prevented. We know that spiritually, we want to make sure that we keep our spiritual muscles and our nerves well and not damaged. So let's do a quick summary. If I were to ask you, and you can open your mics, what is gastroparesis? Feel free to open your mics. What is gastroparesis? Anyone can answer. What is it? Anyone there? What is it?
Yeah. Yes, so that's when the muscles of the gut is not functioning effectively, where it can crush and digest, get the food to digest into this smaller intestine and large. So the food just sits there. So it's a muscle problem where the gut muscle is not working effectively.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so we need to recognize it early. So what are some of the signs and symptoms that we talked about? What are some of the signs and symptoms?
Yeah. I guess we talked about the bloating and the
Vomiting,
yeah.
bloating, loss of appetite.
Absolutely. So also now that we know that bloating, loss of appetite, vomiting, all of those are related to gastroparesis, right? And so we want to be able to recognize if we have those, what's going on with our body. And that's when we want to seek out medical attention. So what are some of the causes? There were two things that I talked about for causes. I talked about more of the, but two things that stand out that may cause gastroparesis.
One of the things that stand out for me was diabetes. You know, diabetes could be really an issue with gastroparesis.
Absolutely. Diabetes.
The types of food you eat.
Okay. Sometimes the foods that we eat not have enough fiber. What about the medications we
Some medication.
Thank you very much. That's what I wanted to hear. Some of the medication that we take affect our stomach and causes gastroparesis. So if you start on a new medication and you notice a difference in how you're digesting food, or if it's really slow or sluggish, what do you think would be what you should do with that information?
Tell your doctor.
Tell your doctor, absolutely. Don't say, oh, it's just a side effect of that new medication I'm taking. You want to speak up and tell your doctor, because remember, when food sits in the stomach too long, remember that bacteria builds up, and we don't want bacteria in the stomach. Very good. Y'all are doing great. So then the next question is, what are some of the complications of gastroparesis?
Bloating.
Okay, complications.
What? Constipation?
Constipation.
Weight loss.
Weight loss. Very good. Thank you. Whoever said that. Weight loss. Absolutely. What else?
Loss of appetite?
Loss of appetite. What about dehydration? And remember, we talked
Constipation?
constipation. We talked about even quality of life is decreased because of gastroparesis. Because if you think you're going to eat and it's going to come back up in a couple of hours, are you going to feel comfortable going out eating with your friends? Most likely not, right? And so it could affect our quality of life. And remember, we also talked about it could affect your blood sugar levels. It can affect your blood sugar levels. That's a complication, because if your blood sugars are dropping because you think you have food in your stomach, but it doesn't, that's a problem. So what are some things we can do to reduce those risks? What are some of the things we can do? There's some things that we can control, and what are they?
Yeah. Try not to eat and drink at the same time, because you know you don't want to slow your digestion, the digestion of your food down. So eating and drinking at the same time could cause that. So we just need to try and not do that.
Doing our food is another one. I know when we were younger, we would count. We'd have to count. Chew your food 30 something times, 40 something, just chew. We had to chew. My mother, they would have us chewing. So chewing your food well, that's another way we can reduce it. What's another one? Not eating between meals. Go ahead. I heard someone say something.
No snacking.
That's right.
Don't watch television, eat at the same time.
Absolutely. Allow your stomach to rest. Rest, don't confuse it. Just allow it to rest. And there's like, 4 to 6 hours, 4 to 5 to 6 hours in between meals is good because the body really can digest the food. Very good. Any other things that we can do that we can take charge of our health? Because it's up to us, right?
Know your body.
Yes.
Yes. It's good to know your body, because sometimes you might eat something that is, might affect the way you feel.
Yeah,
And
I've
one of
got
the things that you brought out was antacid,
Mhm.
taking so much antacid because in order for food to digest, we need a pH. I think the normal pH is between 1.5 to 3.5. The stomach is a very acidic environment. And if it's not acidic enough, then our foods will not get digested.
Absolutely.
And what will happen, the food will just sit there and putrefy. So be careful with antacids. If you have a problem, it's best to go seek your doctor, find out what's going on so that they can, give you the right treatment. And I know these antacids are so easily available. We can get them from over the counter. And we do not stop to read the directions because these antacid like those protonics and those medications that we take, Mucinex, what is it? Nexum. Those things are not, Lava said, yeah, they're not supposed to be taken for a long period of time. I think the directions say for 7 days. And how often we take it forever and ever and ever.
Very
So we have to
good.
be careful. Even the doctors prescribe them forever and ever and ever.
Mhm.
Your pH is not, it's just masking a symptom, and it's just a revolving door because here you're decreasing the acidity of the stomach, and which you need to have an acidic stomach in order to digest the food. So
Very good.
you
Absolutely.
need to,
Another thing is, remember we talked about the digestive walks, walking after meals? Because most times after we eat, we want to do what? Lay down. We want to sleep. We want to sit. But getting up and moving is good for the stomach, for digestion. And then
and
lastly,
that
ahead.
problem with wanting to sleep after a meal. I
Mhm.
always say your meal should not make you feel tired. If
That's
you're
true.
eating and your meal after eating, you feel tired, then there's something wrong. You need to look at what
Mhm.
you, because the high amount of carbohydrate and sugars that we consume at a meal, it causes that domino effect where your blood sugar goes up high, and then you have all this insulin in your system, and now it brings the blood sugar down quickly, and then you go into that slump. So our food should make us energize us, not make us sleepy. So look at what you're eating if you're having that sleepy, tired feeling after eating.
Absolutely. And then lastly, one of the ways to reduce gastroparesis, don't worry, that worry and nervousness and all of that, our mental health really does affect our gut health, believe it or not. And even though gastroparesis deals a lot with the vagus nerve that goes to the stomach and deals with muscle weakness, when we are nervous and when we're anxious and we're trying to eat and do all of that, the stomach, we are not able to digest food very well. And so that's really important. Let me just close with this final comment here. I actually found a statement that I thought was really important that I want to share with you. And it's about how we care for our bodies, our obligation to care for our bodies. Okay, so it's from Counsels on Diets and Food, which is a book that I really enjoy reading about. But it says, our first duty towards God and our fellow beings is that of self-development. Every faculty with which the Creator has endowed us should be cultivated to the highest degree of perfection, that we may be able to do the greatest amount of good of which we are capable. So when we feel well, live well, we're able to do well. Hence, that time is spent to good account, which is used in the establishment and preservation of physical and mental health, preserving both physical and mental health. We cannot afford to dwarf or cripple any function of the body or the mind. As surely as we do this, we must suffer the consequences. So this presentation today is more about how do we prevent diseases? How do we preserve our health? How do we prolong our life by making sure that we keep an eye on our GI? The one question I have for you is, what is the one thing you will do to keep an eye on your GI so that you can live well? Is it allowed enough time in between meals? Is it not drinking during meals? Is it only eating and not watching TV? Is it chewing to make sure that we get the food all nice and watery before we swallow it? What is that one thing that you will do? Because it's an ounce of prevention is greater worth a pound of cure. So we want to make sure that we protect our vagus nerve, protect our stomach, protect our entire body so that we can live well. What is that one thing that you will do to keep an eye on your GI? Any questions, comments, testimonials? Someone may have a testimonial. I will allow you to open your mic and share at this time. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Sankey, for that, bringing that to attention, gastroparesis. It's so important that we take care of our gut. One of the things I was thinking about as you were talking is my pet peeve, sugar. What sugar does, it increases the gut flora, the gut bacteria, which is very important in aiding in the digestion of our food, because we need good, healthy gut flora to help with that process of digestion. So when we kill off all our good bacteria by harboring, not having enough acidity in our gut, then the food, the waste that really should be excreted as waste, it sits around longer, because what the bacteria in our gut does, it chew up, eat up, food that's sitting around that is, help with the elimination of food. So the food that, especially fiber, because fiber is not made for us to digest. It's to feed our gut bacteria. That's what it's made for. And so when we do not have enough good gut bacteria due to maybe excessive sugar intake, we can have a problem. So one of the things we need to really look at is sugar. It comes in all forms. Drinks, eating all these sugary pastries and all of that. Simple carbohydrates, because it turns into sugar eventually. So those are some things we need to look at too.
Absolutely.
So thank you again.
Thank you.
But from personal experience, I would tell anybody, avoid processed foods because they do not do well with the gut.
Thank you, Larry, for
That
sharing
is so
that.
true, Larry.
Yeah, because it doesn't have the fiber, it doesn't have the roughage, doesn't have what we want to move it on through. Move it through. Thank you, Larry, for sharing that. Anyone else has any testimonial or advice of experience or something that they would, the sugar, processed food we've heard, those are like, those are things that we have to know that they don't benefit the body. No nutritional value, very little nutritional value.
Dr. Jennifer, I found that one thing that's helpful is to cut back on the food intake. That has been very helpful, because it's good to get maybe about 1 or 2 tablespoons of food, but I used to get, I can't even count how many I would get and then go back for seconds. But when I was able to decrease it a little bit, I found it was very helpful.
Thank you, Osceola. That is, I said ouch because I love to eat. So I was like, oh, I do enjoy eating, but I probably should be mindful about cutting back as well, because the stomach stretches and it is harmful to the stomach to stretch it like that. Thank you, Osceola. Very good advice. Very good. That maybe have to be my one thing.
Avoid stress, avoiding stress. Reading your word and have a relaxed mind so that you can focus on the things you're putting in your mouth, the things that you're buying in the store. that will hurt your GI tract. Very important.
Thank you, Joycelyn. You know, because if you eat when you're stressed, you eat more and you eat unhealthy things. So you have to plan your diet. You have to plan your meals, even when you're traveling. That's the hardest part for me right now. Planning my meals when I'm traveling. So anyone else? This has been great discussion. Thank you all so much for joining and living well. Thank you so much for participating in the poll. You know, just thank you for supporting us week after week. Me and Emily, we are on a journey ourselves to health and wellness, and we want as many people to come along with us as possible. You know, if there's a topic that you would like us to present, or you'd like to present a topic, please contact us. We are always looking for presenters. We're always looking for relevant information. And so I would even say to you all, as we are going through this strenuous political time, make sure that you're not watching the news when you're eating your meals. So just make sure that you eat in silence and away from all the noise that's going on. Yes, right. So turn it off, eat your meals, and allow your food to digest by doing a digestive walk afterwards. Any final thoughts, Emmeline?
Not really. I just, I'm so, the interaction was very well. I saw one person put in the chat, they really enjoyed the interactive session that you had with, today. It helps because it keeps us alert and keeps us, paying attention. So, this is such an important subject, gut health, because you are what you eat. And if you cannot digest your food, absorb your food, whatever you're eating, it really doesn't, nourish the body as it should. So we just need to take all of these different advice that you give us here today and make sure that we put into practice so that we can enjoy healthier gut and be able to enjoy our meals and be able to live a healthier life. So
thank you, Emmeline.
That's so important.
Thank
Always
you.
take a digestive walk.
Yes. Yes, that's important. You know, this topic, when I reflect on those two conversations that I've told you that I've had within the last 2 weeks, it makes me wish I knew this then, because I probably would have maybe just gingerly said something like, have you considered going to your doctor to see whether or not, but I didn't engage in any conversation as to when I heard the conversation, like I don't eat much, I just kind of only eat a little, I get bloated, none of those things. But I would encourage all of us, we're not doctors to diagnose anyone, but we should really be kind enough to recommend that they follow with their doctor so that they can get diagnosed or find out what is causing that. Because many times we may misdiagnose, like the person that, the person that they keep bringing up food, I'm thinking, well, they're bulimic. But I didn't say that to the person, but again, it could be that they just need to go to the doctor and get assessed. That's the only way they'll know what's going on with them. All right, well, I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you again for joining Living Well. Thank you again for being interested about keeping an eye on your health and on your GI. And I would just really encourage you, do at least one thing for yourself. Is for you to help you to live well, your family to live well, so that you can have the best quality of life, not only now, but for eternity. We will take prayer requests at this time.